Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello. So as usual, I am joined by my fabulous co-host, Kate Sittars. And today we also have the pleasure of being joined by George Gorringe, who is a CCA student, now also a professional copywriter, a former teacher, all kinds of things to dig into in your story.
A master.
We
call you a master now. I feel like that's...
I've had too many jobs.
Yeah. So welcome, George. We're excited to dig in.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So George, as you were saying, you have had a variety of different experiences, different roles before you came to copywriting. Can you give us some idea of what your background has been?
I certainly can. It's kind of a long story because, well, before copywriting, I was one of those people who kind of, I don't want to say like serial jumped around lots of different jobs, but that's exactly what I did because I went to university, Durham University, which is in the north of England, and I studied a degree in archaeology and ancient civilizations. And I was really into sort of Egyptology, ancient Greeks, Romans, all of that jazz. And I left university and I tried to get an archaeology job, but it's really, really difficult to do that. I have no idea why to this day, but it's just really, really hard. So I spent about 2 years after I graduated, maybe a year and a half, doing various different jobs, working in different bars, working in hotels. I was a tour guide at a museum. I did some related things. And then eventually I did get an archaeology job, which was great. And I discovered, within about a year, it just wasn't for me anymore. Very, very interesting. Don't get me wrong. It didn't really sit with me anymore. The pay was rubbish. It was terrible, terrible pay. And I moved from there into actually wine sales. So I used to sell wine over the phone, not cold calling, a bit of cold calling, fortunately, but it was to people who had an account with this company that I worked for. After that, I did a couple of little bits and bobs in between, but then I started teacher training. I was a teacher for about a year and a half, and then also decided that wasn't for me. That time it was down to, I suppose, I think universally teachers aren't paid enough, and any teachers who are listening, I think you'll agree. And eventually it got to that point, and a lot of mental health difficulties, hooray. And I left teaching about 3 weeks before COVID, which was really, really bad timing in hindsight, but also not, because then it led me to where I am now. Then I went back to Durham, did a master's in bioarchaeology, and then it was actually, January last year, so that'll be 2021, that I started the copywriting course, and here I am. I am now full-time freelance copywriter about a year and a half later.
Very exciting. What got you interested in copywriting?
Well, I'd done little bits and pieces here and there before. So the wine job, for example, I did various kinds of salesy communications for them, worked with the marketing department on a couple of things, and they were just like, oh, you're good at writing, type thing. And I was like, oh yeah. I didn't really know what it was at the time. And then what was it? It was someone mentioned it to me. Someone that I knew from school. It was at this reunion event or something, mentioned that they're like, oh, they were working with a copywriter. And I was like, sounds a little bit like what I did for a time with the wine job, and then didn't really think anything of it until I had a Facebook advert basically pop up for your course, and I was like, oh yeah, there's that word again, copywriting. Looked into it, watched your little intro video, and I was like, yeah, I could do that. I think I could do this job, and that kind of set me on the path. I attended the course. I ran through it. I learned the things, and now I write the words. So there you go.
There you go. Boom. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for the course and for putting me on the track, I suppose, because I think, you know, I say to people sometimes, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a copywriter. And they're like, oh, is that like the legal thing? That's the classic one that I get. No, don't come to me for that. I don't know anything about legal things or illegal things.
Sure.
Just don't come to me.
Just don't come to me for that. Just come to me if you want to, you know, if you want your business to get noticed more or at all. That is not what I do, you know.
I'm curious though, because I know you said you joined in January, and I feel like you had your first client pretty quickly thereafter. How did that come about? And talk us through that.
So it was really quick. So it's kind of a sad story, I guess, because you know, when you go through these periods of like dramatic change where it can either sort of really get you down or galvanize you into doing something. It kind of did both for me. So it was a combination of, you know, COVID lockdowns and then just a series of situations which started to sort of play on my mind and get worse and worse. And, you know, the isolation of COVID and stuff. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Sod this. I'm gonna do something about it. And so I mentioned, obviously, I was doing my master's, and I needed some kind of income to kind of prop me up towards the end of that master's year. I needed to make some money to pay my rent, basically. So I was like, oh, you know, I set myself a little target of, I can't remember what it was. I think, so I started in January. I wanted to make £500 copywriting by the time, I think it was by June. So yeah, first 6 months, by June, I wanted to make £500. And I did better than that because I got my first client right at the beginning of March. I went through the course really quickly. I was like, right, I'm going to do my website. I'm locked in with, you know, COVID. Don't have anything else to do. Don't have anywhere to go. Slammed through the whole thing and built my website. And then, got my first client. And that was about £1,000. So I was like, oh, maybe I should focus on this a bit more rather than doing the masters. Don't worry. I passed the masters, and I got a good mark in the end.
So first client, you got that first client right away, and it was blew your goals out of the water. Where did you go from there?
From there, I started pitching, obviously different people. So I was doing probably between 20 and 30 pitches per week. And, you know, some weeks, I think, you know, like you mentioned on the course, like sometimes you get quite a lot of hits and sometimes you don't. And I did kind of, I was going to say invest, but I didn't actually pay for it. But I spent some time, you know, tracking down like a software that tells you if someone's opened the email and things like that. And actually kind of stressed me out a little bit. So I ended up cutting it off. I was like, no, I'll just send it and then they'll reply or they won't. And I'd say I probably got maybe 2 or 3 responses in every 25, which is pretty good. And 2 of them, it was a guy who wanted some social media doing. He runs still, I hope, a company that sells olive oil and halloumi cheese. So he wanted his social media doing on a regular basis. So I started doing that for him for a bit. And then I'm still doing this actually. So it's been a long-term client. I do content for a website that does men's underwear. I know far too much now about men's thongs, you know, like way more than I needed to know ever. But you know,
can you ever know too much about this? It sounds like
I know. I add it to my knowledge bank of, like, you know, you've got archaeology, you've got teaching, and you've got men's thongs.
I love it. Very well rounded.
like this
Very
can all
well.
come together in the future for you at some point.
Exactly. But yeah, socks as well. It's not all about the pants. But yeah, I still do that. So that's, yeah, a long-term client. And that's, I think, if I'm gonna give advice to people, just off the top of my head right now, if you can find stuff like that, then that's great, because that pretty much I do maybe 3 or 4 articles per week, and that pays my bills and my rent, and then everything on top of that is for me. So awesome. But we were talking about where I went after that. Well, there's a after that, because that was when I was still finishing off the master's and writing the dissertation. So while I was doing that, I didn't pick anything else up. I was like, I'm going to stop pitching because I need to focus on this. I probably should.
I was going to say, you were working part-time then, hours, right?
Yeah,
Roughly?
yeah, part-time. Yeah, part-time. Yeah. So I was doing, about, I think, 3 blog articles and then just various social posts each week, and probably working about 2 days per week. And then the rest, I'd love to say that the rest was on the dissertation, but it definitely wasn't.
But how cool that you were covering all your bills with part-time work. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is, when I was kind of on the fence about signing up to the course, I suppose, Nicki was saying things about like, oh, you can earn this money and you can do this. And I was like, oh, can you though? Can you though? You can. It can be done. I have done it, and I am doing it now. And I mean, well, today, Friday, day off. I don't work Fridays.
Good for you.
Yeah, because I don't need to. Honestly, I could, but I don't want to. Which is great. I think. Yeah, it's I was kind of reverse inspired by my dad, because when I was growing up, he was an accountant and consultant, and he would go to work at 6 a.m. and he would come back at 7 p.m., probably later than that. And he would just be tired all the time and a bit stressed out. And even if he wasn't, he was tired and just didn't really have much time or energy, I suppose, time and energy to kind of like, spend time with me. And so one of the things that I was thinking about, starting a career in this is like, I want to have kids one day, and now I can spend time with them when I want, because a lot of the deadlines I have as well are really flexible, because sometimes inspiration strikes you at 1 a.m, sometimes it hits you at 9 a.m. It's nice and flexible as long as you hit that deadline. Second piece of advice: hit the deadlines. Don't be late. I've never done it, but I know people who have. Yeah. But yeah, finishing off the part about my little journey, I was doing a personal kind of blog post to beef up my website a little bit on what makes a good job description, and how you should write one. And I was trawling around LinkedIn for different job descriptions, and I found one for this agency in London. And I was like, actually, this one's pretty good. It literally only got one thing wrong, really, which it didn't say the salary on it, which is a big bugbear for me. I love it when a job description says you could earn between 30 to 35,000. I'm like, good. Tell me that's the reason people want a job, for get paid. Tell people, So that, yeah, I essentially used that as an example, and I was like, why don't I just? It was a copywriting job, and I was like, I'll just apply for it then, and see what happens. And yeah, I don't do this, but I may have had a bit of wine, and I was like, oh, I'll just do super casual, like, I think this is perhaps one of the best ways to go about things, because when you're not like putting so much, I'm not saying get drunk and do stuff, but like not putting so much expectation on yourself to like, oh, I have to make this perfect, and it has to be, I was just, really loosey-goosey with it, had a bit of fun, and it got passed straight to the CEO, and he was like, I love this, it's funny, like, you have to come in and meet us. So at the time we couldn't really, but get on a call, and that led to me getting an agency job, which I started after university in October. And yeah, like what a load of experience that will give you. So now, I mean, everything I was doing before, I suppose, you know, the underwear, the olive oil and social media bits and bobs and things like that, bit rinky dink. But now, you know, I've written for Kraft Heinz Global, Matalan, big consulting firms in London, a big real estate agency also in London, language learning company, a little, I guess, similar to Duolingo, called Preply, which they're really cool people, and a Swiss company that makes running shoes called On Running, who are also really cool. Really huge variety of things and people and stuff. Oh yeah, the post office, the whole British post office.
Cool.
Like random, but yeah, they want a set of tone of voice guidelines.
All right.
So we're doing that, and yeah, so been working with that agency since October. In March, I went freelance because I wanted to move. I was living in London at the time, and I wanted to move back to Norwich, it's where I'm from, and you know, just be closer to my mum and like friends that I've got up here and things like that. And I was like, well, I could. And yeah, they offered me like a freelance sort of consulting contract, and yeah, still going.
That's amazing. So really, it was 10 months from you being absolutely brand new to copywriting, never having heard about it, to be writing for Kraft Heinz
Yep.
and all of these other, and the British Post Office. That's amazing. That is really fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it felt like longer than that because of COVID, but yeah, I think it was, yeah, kind of crazy really, because literally I walked into the office at day one. Also, strange to note, I was the only copywriter at the place. I mean, it's an agency of I think at the time it was about 90 people. Yeah, I was the only copywriter.
Are you still the only copywriter?
There's a couple of other freelancers that
okay
do, but I'm the main one.
That's awesome.
But at the same time, it's stressful because I'm the only one and I have to be involved in everything, but it's also great because I'm the only one and I have to be involved in everything. So really great for the experience. I think, yeah, the one thing that I kind of miss out on, I suppose, in that situation is that I don't really have like a mentor as such. Well, I do, but not specific to my field. Or I've had, yeah, like, I mean, it's great company, great bunch of people. It's very young company, but yeah, there was a few people who've been in the game, like creative business for a while, and like straight out of university for them. And so yeah, they were giving me you know, tips and tricks and things to do and all of that. And yeah, I think literally the only thing I missed out on was that kind of senior mentor copywriter, like to help me. I mean, I'm definitely a better writer than I was now than when I started in October. But yeah, I would seek one out if I was giving tips and tricks. But yeah, it's been a weird journey, I suppose, because, you know, obviously I was pretty active in the Facebook group, especially last year as well, and, you know, seeing the successes of people and stuff like that, I was like, I'd love me a piece of that, but it probably won't happen. And then, like, yeah, I was thinking about it about 3 weeks ago actually, and I was like, wow, you know, I kind of am one of these people.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even realize that it had happened, because it was like, you know, there's always stuff going on. I was busy, and I was like, actually,
you were taking action. You were head down. You're doing the work, and
exactly.
You pick your head out of water, and look, you're like, oh yeah,
like,
oh, yeah. I have a career.
I'm further than I wanted to be, further than I ever thought that I could be, even. So yeah, now I need to plan what I'm gonna do to like take it further, I guess. I don't have to do that. I'm fine where I am for now.
What a cool feeling though, that you have. I just love that you embrace the opportunities that, were in front of you, and you went for things, and then you decided, I want to freelance again because I want to move. And you made that, like, the flexibility that you've flexed
Yeah.
of the career is awesome. That, I feel like so many people get stuck in that mindset of, I have to do this, I have to be freelance, or I have to be agency. And now you've got so many cool portfolio pieces that's only going to help your freelance business.
Yeah, exactly. God, yeah. I need to shove them all into my website somewhere and probably move on some of the smaller ones. Mental healthy things, they still creep in every now and again. And this kind of prompted like a bit of mindfulness there. And I was like, you know what, you're bloody lucky. Even though sometimes it can get really stressful and there's too many things to do, but like I kind of got exactly what I wanted, especially with this whole, move back to Norwich and then become freelance again. I had that idea in my head when I put it to them, and I said, because I get social anxiety since COVID, and from teaching. It's one of the unfortunate side effects that I've experienced. And I'm much more introverted than I used to be. Don't sound it, but I really am. And I having to commute into the office and get on the London Underground. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And especially like going into the office and being in recruitment as well, the other half of the business, it was a lot of extroverted people who want to talk to you all the time. And I'm like, no, please.
I need to write.
Yeah, I want to work from home. And I think, well, now I do pretty much, all the time. But yeah, the only thing that I have to worry about now is like I have to get out and about, and I do stuff with, but it's all on my terms. So, it's super lucky. I was talking to my parents about signing up for the course, because obviously recent luck had not gone very well, other than getting accepted onto the master's course, of course. But then they were like, well, what do you want from your job then? And I was like, well, I quite like, I like the sound of this. I like the sound of this lifestyle. And they're like, right, okay. My dad said, ideal situation. What do you want? What do you want? And I was like, right, I want to go, because my favorite city, I want to go to Rome. I want to sit on the balcony of my Airbnb with my whatever I've got, coffee, espresso. I want to finish off a piece of work, and then I want to close my laptop and I want to get out and do something cool. And he's like, right, okay, do you think you can do this with this job? And I was like, I don't know. And I haven't done it yet, but I know for a fact that I could fly to Rome this afternoon if I wanted.
You're off Friday. Let's do it. We'll meet you there.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. And I've got a half sister. She lives in Portugal. I'm gonna go visit them next month. I'll be working some of the time, but then that's the beauty of the thing. All I need is the laptop, which I'm on right now, and it weighs about a kilogram, and as long as I've got an internet connection, it's all I need. I mean, it takes a bit of planning. It's not as simple as just jump on a plane, because you've got to meet your commitments that you make, and that's, I think, one of the it's the key thing about being a freelancer, really, is that you don't have that credibility of a large company to back you up if something goes wrong, or if you mess up or anything like that. So you do have to be a little bit careful, but I'm making sound harder than it is. It's somewhere in the middle there, where it's like, yeah, you could totally do that. Just plan it a bit and then you're great.
Make sure you've got Wi-Fi. Don't travel on a deadline day.
Nope.
or turn it in ahead of time if you're traveling on a deadline day. But yeah, I have to say, personally, I really love hearing from students who have heard me talk about these things and are like, nah, I don't know if that's actually possible. And then come back and say, yes, it's all completely possible. And then some.
Yeah. Oh, it's because I'm a probably, yeah. Thank my parents and my circle of friends for this. I'm a massive cynic. So like, actually the fact that I even started the course at all is something of a miracle in itself. So, anyone who's on the fence and listening to this, do it, because if I can do it, you can do anything. Yeah, I think in terms of my plans for what I want to do, I really need to sit down as well. And this, I did this originally, didn't I, with my I want to earn £500 in 6 months, and then I did way more than that. And I was like, oh, I really need to sit down and like plan a goals, a business plan, I suppose, because like I've more than replaced my teaching salary, and I'm still not working full time. I'm doing a solid 3 days a week, usually 4. And I don't want to say I've doubled it, because time will tell, but on the track that I am currently on, I have more than doubled it. It's just a case of sustaining this momentum for the rest of the year. But then I was just like, wow, commuting and teaching and being in a room with rowdy kids and having stuff thrown at you, it just happened.
What ages were they?
11 to 18.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a particularly
fertile range, all of that range.
Yeah. I don't have to put up with any of that anymore. And like, it's not all rosy all the time, 100%. Like, as I mentioned, I struggle with mental health things, issues from time to time, and some of that can be affected by the work. Like, especially working from home, it can be quite isolating at times. And sometimes you have really big deadlines, and you have these, I was writing this article this week that's going to be published in this marketing magazine. It's for the company I'm with, and I sat there. I had 6 hours blocked in to write this thing. It was 800 words, and it was on the company time, and I was sat there for about 4 hours going like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write about. And then literally in the last hour, and it all came out in the end. But like, yeah, it can be stressful. It can be stressful.
That's why you don't do day rates, though. People that are like, I'm going to do all of this in a day. What if that day?
What if that day turns into a week? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Give yourself space on deadlines. I feel like that's the takeaway.
Yeah. And I think like, but then, the other side of that is like, the more practice you get, like, you just have more refined processes, and and things come easier. And I think it's the biggest validation, I think, for me in this job is when someone tells you, they read something you've written, they go, wish I could write that, or wish I could write like that. And then like, I do that to people all the time as well. Like, there's plenty of times I look on the the post on the group, in the Facebook group, and I see things that people have written. I was like, that's great. Damn it. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? But like, that it happens to me as well. Like, it happens to all of us. We're writers after all. And like, it's really nice when people are like, oh, I wish I could. And then you go, but you can. Yeah. And then secretly in the back of your head, you're like, no, you can't. I'm the best, because like, I've written this thing. It's great. But yeah, it's just a good feeling when like, you nail something and someone's like, oh yeah, I wish I could write like you could write. And it makes it all worthwhile. And the money's great too, which also makes it very worthwhile. But it's just everything, really, just everything about the whole deal. It's completely life-changing. Yeah, you got to put the work in. But I think the takeaway is that it's totally possible. And I didn't believe that it was, and it is. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that, which a few weeks ago. But yeah, very, very possible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this has been fascinating, and I know that our listeners are going to love hearing your story and love hearing you overcome your cynicism to have so much success in this field. Now, if someone is listening and they're thinking, oh, I really like what he had to say, I like his vibe, I'm interested in hiring him, what is your portfolio so that they can find you?
Yes. So my portfolio is this is where having a weird name doesn't come in very handy.
We'll link to it. We'll link to it. It's fine. Look in the show notes.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, we can link to it, but it is www.gorringecopy.com. That's GORRINGECOPY.com. And yeah, if people are going to go check it out,
you've got a couple of weeks to get it updated if you want. So you're good.
We just gave you a deadline to
update
your
portfolio. I can give it to you after this of when this is going to publish, and then you have a hard deadline.
I work better to a deadline.
Perfect.
So challenge accepted. I can do that.
Good.
Yeah, I was meaning to give it a refresh anyway.
There's the motivation you need.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
We're here. It's actually what this podcast is. It's an intervention for your portfolio. We actually saw it and we were like, George, you need to update that.
It's help. It's rubbish.
No.
Logos on there from these big clients. Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get those logos on. There'll be a bunch. So
exactly. No, but this has been super interesting, and I know that all of our followers are going to really enjoy this episode and find it particularly inspiring. So I appreciate it, and congratulations for being one of those people that you used to see in the group that you were like, wow, I'd love to have that success. Congratulations for being one of those people and being one of the people that provides inspiration. And thank you for joining us today. So a lot of fun. Thank
you very much for having me. Yeah, no, it feels good. It feels good. It's one of those things where I got the invite through and I was like, oh, me? What do you want to talk to me for? I'm just some guy in England. But yeah, there you go. I think that's the key takeaway for anyone listening is, even if you're a cynic, it's totally possible. You can do this, and it's, I wouldn't say that I'm like filthy rich yet, but I could be.
I love it.
Very soon.
I love it. Well, I couldn't have wrapped it up any better myself. So then with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for our free video training right here.